Welcome to our first ever school board forum. Under Indiana law, schools must give instruction about the election process prior to a general election. Since national and state elections receive much attention, our idea was to focus on our local elections, and from that grew the idea of hosting a forum for our school board candidates. This is being carried live within our school and will be uploaded to YouTube later for the benefit of our community. Before we begin, we would like to give our candidates a chance to introduce themselves. We will first meet the 4 candidates who are running for the 2 seats that represent the town of Paoli. Our first candidate is Chris Boyer.
Hi, I'm Chris Boyer, and I'm running for school board of Paoli Town. I'm a 12-year member of the board, and I'd appreciate your vote.
Our next candidate is Patricia Clements.
Good morning. I'm so glad to see this many students interested in the school board and the election. I have been very fortunate. I was on the board once before. Very anxious to take that over again. I think that the school can use a new board, partly a new board if possible, and I'm delighted to be here.
Our next candidate competing is Terry Nicholson.
I'm Terry Nicholson. I'm a candidate for the school board of Paoli Town, District 1, and I've got 23 years in education. I'm retired, and I'm currently the Orange County Recorder. Thank you.
And finally, for our town of Paoli seats, we have Gary Owens.
Good morning. My name's Gary Owens. I'm a lifelong resident of Orange County and a sales consultant for Baird Homes in Salem. I've been married for the past 17 years to the former Diana Rohde. Diana and I have 3 children, Avery and Haley, both students here in Paoli schools, and I've got a 3-year-old son at home, Kaulen. I am seeking re-election as a District 1 representative to the board, and looking forward to the opportunity to continue serving the Paoli community and Paoli schools. Thank you.
And now we will meet the 3 candidates that are vying for the 1 seat that will represent Stampers Creek and Southeast Townships. Our first candidate is Joe Kimmel.
Hello again. I am Joe Kimmel. I have been on the Paoli School Board 21 years in the past, but not in the last 5 years. I'm looking forward to the opportunity to run again. My wife and I, Nancy, we have raised 3 boys, Garth, Luke, and Chase, and we're really proud of the education they received at Paoli. Thank you.
And our next candidate is Bill McDonald.
Hello, I'm Bill McDonald. I am the current representative from Southeast and Stampers Creek Townships. I have 3 children in Paoli schools, Jacob, Madeline, and Joseph, and I'm deeply invested in how Paoli schools are doing. I'm happy with what is happening now, and I'm very excited about our future. Thank you.
And our final candidate vying for the Stampers Creek Southeast Township seat is Zach Patton.
Hello, I am Zach Patton. I work for Springs Valley Bank and Trust. I don't have any prior experience to the school board, but I have been an alumni here from Paoli, and I've been helping with athletics for the past 9 years, and I'd appreciate your vote.
Well, we thank our candidates for their introductions. Paoli Community Schools are currently working on a district-wide accreditation. Part of that process includes examining our leadership and governance, which includes our school board. All of our questions were derived from the areas of school policy, culture, leadership, and goals. After researching the roles and purposes of school boards in Indiana, the AP government classes developed the questions, and the advanced speech class students vetted them. They will also be posing these questions to our candidates. Much recent research has revealed that effective school boards spend most of their time on development of policies that align with the district's goals and support achievement. Our first set of questions are regarding policy.
Hello, I am Jaylin Busick, a senior here at Paoli High School. The first question is for Mr. Boyer. Our school currently has no policy addressing the unique challenges faced by transgender students. How would you consider shaping a policy addressing transgender issues?
Adopting a policy dealing with the challenges of transgender students would be approached in the same way all policies are adopted. When a need for a policy arises, the administration will research the issue, get input from those it impacts, consider any legal issues. Then the superintendent will provide the board with a recommendation. Myself and the rest of the board will then review and debate the proposed policy, focusing on the following. Is the policy needed? Who will administer the policy? And are the proper resources in place for the policy to be adopted? Will the policy as written have the desired effect? And does the policy fit with the standards and expectations of the local community? This last item is very important and taken very seriously by the board. No other elected office affects people more directly than the school board. When a policy is adopted, it will affect their most precious thing, their children. And even if they don't have children in the school system, it can affect their taxes. That is why every policy is carefully considered before adoption and reviewed on a regular basis.
Our second question is for Ms. Clements. In regards to the current discipline policy, what changes, if any, do you feel would improve our school?
I was fortunate enough some months ago to address the board at a meeting that regarded discipline in particular. The infractions are probably very well known to the students. Most of those are probably in the rule book and well known. I think that an administrator should be assigned the discipline for the junior, senior high school. And it should be the same for every student depending on the infraction that they have disregarded. I think this is very, very important, and I hesitate to say that I feel that sometimes the discipline is handed out maybe on the spur of the moment, and it may not be in line with that same infraction for other students. I'd like to see that changed. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Laundon Goldsby. I am a senior here at Paoli High School. Our third question is for Mr. Nicholson. Athletics are an integral part of our school culture, but the cost of funding sports is a concern for some. How would you address funding concerns in regards to sports?
For the most part, extracurricular activities like sports are self-funded. They have to raise the money. There is some exceptions. One would be coaches' salaries. They can be paid for by tax money. The renovation and the building of buildings can be put on capital projects. Field maintenance or maintenance to athletic facilities can be used on capital project or debt service. So they can be used. But I think sometimes we forget why Paoli schools or any school is in business, and that's to educate kids. I think a lot of times kids slip through the cracks. We worry a lot about the advanced placement kids, the kids that are going to college, and not worry too much about the other kids. When a student leaves Paoli High School, they should be prepared for life. They should become a good worker, a good parent, a good family man, and a good citizen. So there's a lot to do here, and we need to get at it. Thank you.
Our next question is for Mr. Owens. When it comes to setting policy for student discipline, what changes would you make to the current policy, if any, in regards to violence between students?
Many existing policies are intended to promote and protect student safety, and all programs approved by the school board should align with those policies. The board relies on administration and staff to carry out those policies on a daily basis. If current policies aren't enough or simply aren't working, including policies related to safety, the board fully expects administration to offer the solutions for improvement, including recommendations with consideration to input from students, staff, and parents. For those interested, additional policy information and other board-related info, including board contact information, can be accessed on the school's website by clicking on the Governance and Leadership tab. Thank you.
This question is for Mr. Kimmel. As a school board member, you may be faced with questions and concerns regarding the dress code policy. What are your thoughts about our current policy, and how would you address the questions about it in the future?
The way that high school students' dress can be the source of some interesting conversations between students and their parents on some school mornings. Many of you may know that some dress code issues have made it all the way to the United States Supreme Court, and some of those issues really pertain to student self-image, student rights, and gender perspectives. However, I think overall that students are not so much interested in making political statements as they have a desire to just have self-expression. I do support Paoli's open-ended dress code and believe that schools, including Paoli schools, should do more to promote discussions of respect and respectful actions, which include dress codes. And I think the parents and students should be involved in those discussions from the beginning.
Our next question is for Mr. McDonald. Currently, our teachers are evaluated with 1 long and 2 short observations per year. Personally, do you feel that this is an adequate number of observations to be effective, and what are your thoughts about observations being random versus scheduled?
Well, my personal belief is that this takes a lot of input from the teachers and from the administrators who are doing the evaluating. Several years ago, when several of the laws changed, the first requirement was that there were 2 long and 3 short observations. And one of the problems with this was that it seemed to be all that the administrators got done was evaluating teachers. And so with teacher input and administrators giving recommendations to the board, we changed the policy and kind of modified what is called the RISE model. And that is why we now do 1 long and 2 short, which still gives a good level of evaluation for the teacher, but it gives the administrators a little more time to get those done. And also, there are a lot of walkthroughs through the building just walking through and checking as things happen, and that kind of gives the administrators an idea of what's happening in between those evaluations.
Our next question is for Mr. Patton. What are your thoughts regarding our school's attendance policy for students? Would you recommend any changes to that policy, and if you do, what would they be?
I would have to say that I wouldn't recommend any changes to it. Really, no matter what policy you put in place, I believe it's the student's responsibility to come to those 180 days of school and get the absolute best education possible for them. I know there are extenuating circumstances where students do miss more than those allotted days, but for the greatest majority, the students are adhering to the recommended policy requirements that are in the student handbook. Thank you.
Research also shows that effective boards lead as united teams and build collaborative relationships with staff and community. So our next set of questions will be regarding leadership.
Good morning. I'm Claire Cornwell, senior here at Paoli High School. The first leadership question is for Mr. Boyer. District-wide, how do you plan to communicate any progress and change to the community, and how important is that communication?
I believe it is important to make sure the community is not only aware of changes, but involved with what's happening at the school. That is why over the last couple of years, the board and superintendent have taken steps to improve transparency and public knowledge in all areas. By publishing meeting agendas online, converting all policies to a digital format that's accessible 24 hours a day, and publishing budget information well beyond what is required by state law. I believe that the steps taken are having a positive effect. While out in the community going door to door for this election, I've had an overwhelmingly positive response from the people I've visited. Not only are they knowledgeable about what's happening at the school, they are proud of the progress that has been made and optimistic about the future of our school.
Our second question is for Mrs. Clements. There are many controversial topics facing schools today that the voters may be divided on, including but not limited to transgender restrooms. As a leader, how will you handle controversial topics?
Any controversial topic is usually brought to the school board as a whole, and that is where the discussion begins. But on this question, one of the parts of it are the transgender restrooms. I've been lucky enough to visit other countries in the world, and they've settled this a long, long time ago. Their restrooms are both. They are individual and standard facilities, but as you go into a restroom that probably has room for maybe 20 visitors, you will see both men and women and others going into the restroom without fault, without any problems at all, and I think it's something that we should work toward in this country. It works very well in other countries with no problems.
Good morning. I'm Levi Retherford, senior at Paoli High School. Our third question is for Mr. Nicholson. What made you want to be a school board member, and what factors influenced your decision to run?
With my experience in education, I could be a good member and a good addition to our board. I had many people come to me and talk to me about it and ask me questions about the school and what was going on, and I became interested in it. I had to think deep and hard. It takes a lot of time and a lot of dedication to do this, and I finally decided after talking to my family that this would be a good move for me and hopefully a good move for the schools. So I know how schools work and I know how they're supposed to work, and if elected, I will be a very active board member. Thank you.
Our next question is for Mr. Owens. What makes you as an individual stand out from the other candidates running for the same position?
It has been said that meeting the needs of all students starts with knowing who the students are. And I don't believe that comes into question with me. I've been very supportive of all students and programs inside and outside of the classroom, both before and after being elected to the board. I've built and continue to build solid relationships with many students and their families, as well as other stakeholders throughout the Paoli community. I'm proud knowing that others outside of the Paoli community also recognize my efforts. This past spring, the Indiana School Boards Association awarded me the distinction of Master Board Member for my dedication and commitment to continuous board improvement and professional development. The ISBA also this year selected me to serve a 2-year term on the State Board Association Legislative Committee. I am certainly not perfect, and there's definitely a lot more to being a board member than what I've mentioned here. But my foundation is strong, my heart's in the right place, and my focus is always on the kids.
Hello, my name is Renee Lee, and I'm a senior at Paoli High School. Our next question is for Mr. Kimmel. When faced with unforeseen challenges on the job or in life, what steps do you take to resolve these situations, and how will these skills aid you as a board member?
I would like to just give an example. Well, one day at school one morning, someone approached me, said that they had lost their job, and just that day, they lost their room. They had no place to stay. They asked me for a job. They wanted to work for me personally. As a social worker and as a counselor, I was ethically challenged to find a way to could respond to their immediate needs, but then also to find a way that they didn't work for me personally. So I really didn't know what to do right away, but I asked for help. I sought some resources and collaborated with enough people to find some resources for this person to call and acquire some daily work. I also found some donations from community resources and got a step to food bank. Life is dealing with the unexpected, and you need to be patient, look at the problems, look at all the alternatives there are in order to make the best choice.
Our next question is for Mr. McDonald. Have you ever received negative professional criticism, and what did you take from this experience?
Well, as a veterinarian, I have a lot of bosses. I have several thousand clients, and so I pretty much receive criticism every day by someone trying to help me do my job better. And what you learn from is, in dealing with lots of people, is just how to take that criticism and use it and grow from it. One does not take criticism and respond negatively. You have to respond positively. And it's just like being on the school board. When each board member goes out into the community, they have no power. We only have power when we function as 7-member board in the boardroom. And one of the biggest criticisms we get is that people spend too much time trying to do things outside the boardroom. And we always need to remember that the board functions best as a whole, and that each one of us individually contribute equally.
Good morning. My name is Jennifer Smitley, and I'm a senior here at Paoli High School. Our next question is for Mr. Patton. What are some challenges an individual serving on a school board may face, and how do you plan to overcome these situations?
My biggest challenge, I think, is going to be, not really just my biggest challenge, but I think the board's biggest challenge is just having all the opposing viewpoints that you see out there in the community. That Bill was just alluding to. I mean, you can't take on everything by yourself. It is a 7-member board. But I think if you take those opposing viewpoints and suggestions, and you take them to the meeting, and you ask questions, dig further into it, I think that can be very beneficial and help you overcome what it is that you need to do. Thank you.
Effective boards seek to establish a school culture that affirms students and staff, engages stakeholders, and fosters a culture that is consistent with our school's purpose and direction. So our next set of questions are regarding the development of this school culture.
Hello, I'm senior Avery Rogers. The first question regarding school culture is for Mr. Boyer. If you could make a change to the student dress code, what would it be and why?
I know the dress code is an important issue with the student body, and so it is an important issue with me as well. It is my belief that the dress code should be one where the individual is allowed to express oneself in ways which reflect his or her personality, but also done in a way that is not distracting to the student body. That is why, as a board, we recently, on the recommendation of the superintendent, updated the dress code to allow more freedom for students to express themselves. As with all the school's policies, the dress code is something that is reviewed and updated on a regular basis.
Our second question is for Mrs. Clements. Do you feel that our school culture is discouraging students from completing their education? If so, what changes would you like to see implemented to encourage students to stay in school?
I'm not sure that we're discouraging students. I think that we probably should give them a larger availability of shadowing different careers, to have career day. I know that's important, but the real implementation of that would be to shadow different jobs and different careers that people in town have, to see how things really work. Even if you're not qualified for a college life, you may be very well qualified for a vocational life. So I think that shadowing, even on, like our town maintenance is an interesting career. So I think we should probably enlarge that along with the career day and make it a little larger and make it a little better. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Lily Thompson, a senior here at Paoli High School. Our third question is for Mr. Nicholson. What are your views on the role of religion in public schools?
Public education, public schools are open to anyone that wants to come in. It's not the duty of public schools to change anybody's belief, to dissuade anyone's belief. Everyone's free to believe what they want to believe. I think our country, our society, our schools are based on Judeo-Christian values, traditions, and beliefs that everyone should be respected. And I've always kind of lived by the motto of treat people the way you want to be treated. So if you're in school and somebody has a moment of silence, a prayer, something like that, at least be respectful. That's all you have to do. You don't have to agree with them, just be respectful. Thank you.
Our next question is for Mr. Owens. As a school board member, you can expect feedback from the community on a variety of issues. Would you see a value in regularly collecting the opinions of the community and using those responses to drive decisions regarding culture?
Yes to all parts of this. And the great thing is we're already doing it. And we have another survey scheduled before year's end. I'm also proud to say Paoli Schools has just recently been recognized as a Speak Up Loud and Clear school for our efforts in involving stakeholder feedback. As a member of our District Improvement Steering Committee, I can attest to the importance of stakeholder feedback and input Communication is the driving force behind change and improvement. Education depends on many factors inside and outside of the school. We as a school cannot go it alone. Education is a community effort. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Chase Meehan, and I'm a senior here at Paoli High School. Our next question is for Mr. Kimmel. Do you think our current extracurricular activities adequately support a positive school culture, and what changes would you like to see made regarding future opportunities for students?
Research has shown that extracurricular activities provide all students an academic safety net, decreases dropout rates, and provides students an opportunity to make a connection, a positive connection with their school. As a parent of graduates of Paoli High School, I'm very supportive of the variety of extracurricular activities that are currently provided, and I am really positive about what I observe in current Paoli students in their involvement. While I think the Paoli's current extracurricular activities do reflect our local school culture, and I base that upon the variety that is made available, I hope that there's going to be a process in place to survey students, parents, and staff to get input to school decision makers about those choices, and I wish that there'd be a way to address money and transportation needs of students who can't participate.
Our next question is for Mr. McDonald. Why do you feel your perspective will benefit our school community as a member of the board?
Well, as a current member of the board, I am attuned to the issues we are now facing. And as I said before, I'm also deeply invested in the success of our school because I currently have 3 children attending here. But I've always referred to the kids in Southeast and Stampers Creek Township as kind of my kids, because I have paid attention to every policy that we've passed and how it would affect my kids, because a lot of them are the ones that have the farthest to come to go to school. Also, as a farmer and business owner, I'm attuned to the tax rate, and that is probably one of the biggest issues that face a lot of the larger landowners that also reside in Stampers Creek and Southeast Township. We have several farmers out there that really worry about the tax rate because that's one of their biggest expenses on the farm. And I'm proud to say that we are doing everything we can to be fiscally responsible with the tax dollars, and I would like to continue that success. Thank you.
Hi, my name is April Pennington, and our next question is for Mr. Patton. In what ways do you feel our current and previous school boards have impacted the school culture, both positively and negatively?
One way I think they have positively is, by creating those college preparedness courses. By doing that, I mean, it's allowing the students to advance their education and prepare themselves for what lies ahead. However, I do believe that we need to make sure that there's unity between not only the faculty members, the board members, the students, but also the parents to make sure that those students that are taking those courses or able to take those courses are making sure that they get the full benefit out of those, so whenever they do further their education, they are a little bit more prepared for what does lie ahead. Thank you.
Effective boards also establish attainable school-wide goals, allocate resources to support those goals, and then monitor those goals for achievement. Our final set of questions are regarding school goals.
Good morning, I'm Allison Strother, a senior at Paoli High School, and our first goals question is for Mr. Boyer. What do you feel the role of technology is for the future of our school corporation, and how much value do you place on technology?
The issue of how important technology is to me as part of the current board can be seen in the advances we have made. Students used to have to vie for time in computer labs or share classroom computers. Now every student has their own computer in their hands every day. This is an important step because the main goal and whole purpose of the school is to prepare every student for their future. I can't imagine that future not including technology, either in the workforce or continuing their education. The superintendent, along with the board, have made the decision not to let the economic realities of Orange County be an excuse for underachieving or not giving our students every opportunity to be future ready. We have taken that challenge head on, and now Paoli is at the forefront of technology in the classroom and a model for other schools to follow.
Our next question is for Ms. Clements. What steps do you plan to take to help students increase test scores in the future?
I guess I'm one of those people that really would like to see the I-STEP test either renovated or changed in some way to make it easier for the students to understand. I think that the questions need to be a little clearer, more concise, more representative of what they have already studied. And then as far as the technology, if they are taking tests online, I feel that the instruction for technology that they will be using online to fulfill the taking of those tests should be absolutely instructed by qualified instructors so that everyone reaches the level that they need to in order to fulfill their test taking ability. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Nikki Stewart, a senior here at PHS. Our third question is for Mr. Nicholson. How do you plan to create a safe and secure environment for students at our school?
Okay, when I worked down at Pekin at East Washington Schools, I was the corporation safety specialist and got to study and learn a lot about the safety in schools, what worked, what didn't work, things like that. And it would help me here as a board member to understand how these things go. I think your current safety people, they're always looking for better hardware, technology, things like that to keep the building safe in itself. Inside, it has to be a team effort. Everyone has to work together to monitor what goes on. If you see something, say something. If things don't seem exactly right, speak up. Talk to an adult, a teacher, a coach, somebody you have confidence in. Don't just slough it off and say, well, probably nothing going on. It's okay. If something doesn't seem right, don't be afraid to speak up. Thank you.
Our next question is for Mr. Owens. What challenges does the school face in helping students with disabilities, and how will you work to support those students in the future?
Our schools have been recognized for quality programs for all students, and rightfully so. But we should always seek to improve students' opportunities. An example would be the commitment made to the students with severe and profound disabilities, who for years were transported to West Washington. For the past 2 years, I'm proud to say Paoli is meeting the needs of all students with disabilities and is now no longer transporting those students to other school districts. This change assures that these children attend the same schools as siblings, reduce their travel times, and it's a renewed commitment to students with all disabilities and their families. The needs of all students always have been and will continue to be a top priority at Paoli schools. Thank you.
My name is Angel Pierce, and I'm a senior here at Paoli High School. Our next question is for Mr. Kimmel. How can our school more effectively prepare students for college and the real world?
It is difficult for students to move away from their reliance on parents and school into a world where they have to become skilled, think for themselves, and make good choices. Whether that's going to school, learning a trade, or taking a job. We can make it easier if we prepare our youth to take risks, accept mistakes, do real-life problem solving, and learn communication skills. I am certain these are part of the curriculum at Paoli. I also believe that the extracurricular activities provided and community service, or service learning, do the same. I'm in the mental health business. I want to make the case for promoting mental health for all students. I know students that are overly stressed often perform poorly in school and on jobs, and believe that emotional stability is one of the best predictors of success.
Our next question is for Mr. McDonald. To you, what is the value of extracurricular programs outside of the school day, and how will we keep such programs afloat with limited funding?
Well, extracurricular activities are an integral part of education for a lot of students. It gives kids an incentive to come to school sometimes when there is less incentive than needed. It can be a very valuable thing to grow teamwork. to grow dependability. And I'm happy to say that because I think we've been fiscally responsible, we have actually been growing our extracurricular programs instead of contracting them, as many schools have had to do. For instance, we've added archery in the last year or so, and that has benefited a lot of kids all the way from elementary through seniors. Many of our programs are competing at state and national and even international levels. And so it is very important that we keep these things going, and I think we'll be able to because of good fiscal management.
Hello, my name is Taylor Lopez, and our final question is for Mr. Patton. What plans do you have to broaden its student experiences at Paoli in the future?
What I would like to see is the continual growth in our STEM education, which is our science, technology, engineering, and math courses. I think that's going to be some of the fields of the future, but more importantly, I'd like to see growth in our vocational school. I think with our area here in Orange County, I think the vocational program is going to provide the best experience for those students that are able to get into those, and maybe work hand in hand with some of the local jobs here in town with, say, either Lane, Electricom, and the list goes on, because those students, need that for the real world experiences once they do graduate from high school. Thank you.
Before we close, we'd like to give each candidate the opportunity to make a closing statement. Candidates, please feel free to share any last comments you would like to share with potential voters. We do ask, however, that you limit your responses to 1 minute or less. Mr. Boyer?
I'd like to say I'm grateful for the last 12 years being able to serve the school and the community. I believe that we have a great staff and administration that has a vision for where the school needs to go, and I would like to continue over the next 4 years.
Mrs. Clements, your response.
I was lucky enough to be on the board for a long time. We worked as a very cohesive group to improve the school by many, many building projects. New choir rooms, new band rooms, new sports facilities, and maintaining all those. And I did all that with the lowest tax rate, school tax rate anywhere around. We are at a turn point right now that we can either go ahead and make changes, not for just the ability to change, but for reasons that need to be interviewed and really looked at carefully before we make those kind of decisions. So I would be very thrilled to be back on the board again. I served for almost 18 years, and I would appreciate your vote, so thank you very much.
And now to Mr. Nicholson.
I'd like to thank Paoli High School here for providing this opportunity for this forum this morning. It's been very interesting. I've enjoyed it. Just like to finish up saying I've got 3 grandsons here at Paoli Schools. My daughters all went to school here. My grandsons are Max Bostock, he's a 5th grader, Jackson Vernon is a freshman, and Dawson Long's a sophomore. And I'm interested in those kids. I'm interested in all these kids here at school and giving them a quality education. So thank you very much.
And now we'd like to give Mr. Owens an opportunity.
It's been an honor and a privilege serving Paoli Schools in the Paoli community for the last 4 years, and certainly would love the opportunity to continue my service. I will point out any one of these candidates will absolutely, without a question, serve the community well. So you're safe no matter how you vote. I think we'll be in good hands. I definitely want to thank the kids and Miss Nichols and everyone involved here today for putting this together. You should all be commended for your efforts. Thank you.
And now, Mr. Kimmel.
Thank you. I love this school. I just think we have tremendous students. I have great faith in the faculty and staff, and I just wish the absolute best for them. Thank you for this opportunity.
Mr. McDonald.
I've been humbled to serve the people of my district for the last several years, and I was just thinking a month or so ago that I'm even more excited now about our future than I was when I first got on the board. The changes that we are making, the technology is just growing by leaps and bounds. The improvement in the AP courses, the awards and accolades that we're getting, not because we're getting the awards, but because of what we're doing, that people are starting to notice the things that are happening here. This is a happening place, and I'm excited to be on the board and be a part of it. Thank you very much.
And finally, Mr. Patton.
I would just like to say thank you for putting on this board forum as well. I appreciate you guys having me here and going through all of this. I just look forward to, campaigning against these three here in the back row, and I look forward to your vote. Thank you.
We appreciate our candidates' willingness to participate in our first ever school board forum. We hope this has been informative. Thank you also to our AP Government and our advanced speech students and our studio crew. And may I remind our viewers who are voters, do not forget to cast your ballots on November the 8th. Thank you.